So, today, acolytes, Aura from Frieren, you know her. You just know her. You know her. And this is actually an interesting title, making a 7-minute villain an icon. I didn't realize Aura was just 7 minutes there. Now that after I read the title, I was like, no. But yes, it's actually true, she wasn't long there. But she left such a freaking impression behind that it was legendary. Shortly and fascinatingly, legendary.
Aura the Guillotine. Her head comes off in 6 pages, right? And yet...
Yep.
Why Aura? Why has Aura had such a long-lasting impact? I mean, aside from coming from a very iconic moment. Aura is a breakout character, but...
I would say that it's because of the iconic moment, and it's not even... Because you've seen her being powerful, you know she's actually something to be feared. She got basically just unlucky that she met Frieren. That's all. She literally just got unlucky. Because otherwise, you know she would plan differently if she knew that. But she didn't. Until her failure was pure arrogance. It was beautiful. It was beautifully made.
One who is a design...
Yeah, it's... I cannot glaze this enough, acolytes. It just...
To immediately die. Someone who inherently doesn't have the depth to carry themselves beyond this initial role. Or, the limbs to carry themselves beyond it. They're interesting, this aura effect. There are so many more demons, so many more characters that approach the same themes, but it's constantly Aura that's thought of. She's the statues, the merch, the focus. The one-scene wonder is more popular than Frieren or Fern, or the best character in this series, at least according to the last popularity poll. She's got no screen time, a grand total of around 7 minutes in all, about 50 panels and less than 40 lines. Why is Aura endured so much? It's a lot down to how in the final moment she goes from a character defined by a single trait to something completely different. She's a strange type of breakout character.
Breakout character.
It's a well-known trope, you know? A character has minor screen time, major impact on fans. Like Karu, Power's Car, or this little guy. Sometimes a character can invoke more of reaction from the audience than was planned. It can mean minor background characters become a bigger part of the story. They can even take over from the protagonist.
Yep.
In Aura's case, it didn't change the trajectory of the story. She's no more relevant than she would have been, but it's probably behind Aura being so prominent in merch. It was one of the most iconic moments of the series. It's the first Frieren action bit. The result...
And the thing is, I just think that Aura is just made so well, so effing well, as a character. I mean, also, we live in a day where waifus are just a thing. And she just shows this dominant part that a lot of people seek these days. Men. You know what I mean. And at the end of the day, she just shown her entire content, as I said at the start. She got unlucky. Literally unlucky. But still, this fucking impact that she had was just... there isn't even a lot to say about her. She just built up a personality, a life, a character, in less than entire movies do on some part. Or other characters on movies do. It's insanity.
The 3 episodes of build-up that cuts and interweaves her between all this background and these two finally getting some big moments. But it only gives a few minutes of screen time to the Aura fight itself, stringing it out while we get all this build-up. So the final moment for her, as clever as it is, and shocking, it comes as such a climax. She became a breakout character. It didn't happen immediately, but we look at popularity polls and she's beating out the major characters. This demon is more well-liked than the protagonist. I mean, obviously not Himmel, though. I mean, no one expected her to beat that. That would have been ridiculous. Look at him. But why is it Aura who's the breakout? Again, Himmel doesn't count as breakout. He was clearly always going to be the best liked.
Yep.
Look at him for a while longer. There are tons of people who have the potential to break out from this show in popularity. Aura's effect is maybe in part because of how the anime dealt with her. For sure.
Potential doesn't mean anything if you don't use it. Simple as that. Aura didn't have potential, yet she came out or you didn't see her potential, and yet she came out swinging. Yeah, she used her potential and went above, or the writers went above with her.
Used a few little tricks to really make Aura the most compelling character. It's not just the design. I mean, quite a bit of it is the design. Let's acknowledge that. People like this design. They like it quite a lot. But there's more to it. I think the anime played a bigger role.
I disagree. I mean, the design is good, don't get me wrong. But it's still generic. I wouldn't say that Aura's design is anything special per se. I would say that every carrying that she does is by her personality, how she fights, and etc, etc. Because I'm gonna be honest, I don't really remember how she looks if I think of her first, or the exact details. What I know is her personality. And how she got off, that iconic moment and such. And of course I was just for my best girl, the waifu Frieren herself. But yeah, it's just the character.
Her was a breakout than the manga did. There's the fantastic voice acting, especially in those final moments. But the character is also more expressive in an anime that was quite restrained in its expressions. Showed off to great effect by pairing her with Frieren. I think we see something similar for Ubel, who's more outwardly emotional. So she stands out against this background of flat faces and scowls. Looking back, Aura is in that arc probably less than I remembered. She first appears properly in just one scene that pans over the army, showing the scales, all this, just anything other than Aura herself, because, maybe she isn't the most threatening design, and then that's it for a little while. When we next see her, it's intercutting the Graph and Frieren stuff, rather than the more straightforward pacing we could have had. But it also helps string what is a small interaction across a much longer time. The emphasis with the shots and the framing initially is very much the scale of the threat of this big group of enemies to fight. But Aura does eventually start getting lines 2 episodes in. And then when she does, it's fairly standard stuff. She's a bit of a normal villain. She has an incredibly risky spell, that's her favorite. Going all in, we learn about a glaring flaw in how it works that people with a strong enough will can resist. And this is tempting. This could be it. This could be our heroes winning through sheer willpower. Will Frieren's spirit to see him all again triumph? Nah, that whole weak point doesn't ever come up. It's a mislead, a red herring, which never actually gets used in favour of something a bit different. Aura is overconfident, arrogant, that's the main thing with her. She does get a nice moment earlier though, kind of, as a yardstick for Frieren's development. So there's that moment where she says Frieren was just blowing stuff up last time, and that's how she used to fight, all explosions and fun. But clearly she's on a more pacifist run now, not even stomping on bugs, that's why it's taking so long to get there. But Aura doesn't understand why, but she does remember the heroes party. By the way, how did Aura get away from this situation, last time she met them? She has to be way faster than this leisurely walk would indicate. Can she just speed away like the Roadrunner when she needs to? She looks pretty cooked here. If she can get away from this, I don't know how much I'd buy that this was the end. Anyway, demons are a counterweight to that core journey Frieren is on, and Aura really works well to introduce this. She just doesn't have as much going on herself, at least not until the very end. But that's it for Aura before we get to the bigger flashbacks. Afterwards, it's back to cutting between the Stark and Fern stuff. Yeah, the pacing hypes the Aura fight. It definitely gives it more ceremony than just seeing it in full, which wouldn't really have had the same impact. But Aura is only ever presented in this.
Yeah, but it's a freaking visual notice that you see instantly. Especially because all the things around are just, let's just say, calm. There isn't a lot. And she then comes booming out,
Cut back and forth. She's never actually the focus. Even so, though, this out-of-focus Aura, it made an impact. Maybe because, she doesn't quite get the screen time, or lines, or pages. She is someone with a history. We can actually see this whole narrative from Aura's point of view. She's on a hero's journey of her own. The final segment of the Aura fight is where she actually gets to show a bit of character. She becomes a person. Although we actually only see Aura after that 10-minute mark. Even here, their encounter is very short in real time. Aura gets all this build up to the audience, but it seems Aura's built the encounter up a lot too. To her, this is her epic rematch against the Heroes Party. She's been on this whole hero's journey and has gained the strength, and now is here at her moment of climax, of revenge. For Frieren, it's just this casual 5-minute thing. Slip out for a second, sort out a demon, be back before these two knuckleheads even notice. Maybe she does this all the time and we just don't follow her. Even with all of the executioners dead, Aura just wants to kill Frieren. She was defeated and forced back by that party and has spent the time since biding her time, waiting for Himmel to pass, too frightened to take this guy on, so she can finally get her revenge. Hiding in the bushes, eating what she finds, apples apparently. It's mainly apples in the forest. Terrified that little old Himmel is going to come and slice her up again. And naturally that makes the demon very bitter at said hero's party. She goads Frieren quite a bit, but it's remarking that Himmel is dead that provokes her to say, I'm just going to have to kill you this time. Maybe poking her, reminding her of that guy who was in love with her that she never noticed till he died. Maybe that upset her a bit. Just a bit of a dick move to point out lost opportunities to an old woman. Does she do this in nursing homes on her days off? Overconfidence and a grudge. That's not a lot.
I mean, true. That's mean. Pointing out to an old woman what opportunity she missed. Yeah, you may not see it, but Frieren isn't 18 or something shit like that, no. She's a bit older than that.
To go on for such a popular character, but it at least gives her a real motivation, a proper arc for her. Eventually the action reaches the point where it's a direct clash between them. She uses her magic and then we cut to flashbacks again. And it's moments like this that make me really glad this isn't like a 52-week-a-year filler-filled anime. They don't really get made that much anymore. This could have taken 6 months if it was on Toonami. But I do think this framing really helps. It might be why Aura makes more of an impact. She gives Frieren her little history, bringing up the party again, calling out her unknown age. She's done her research. It's just in these 80 years held up camping in a bush, furiously thinking about what happened. She never considered that she might not have seen all of Frieren's mana yet. Aura is only really framed through the magic that she uses, the scale or her physical mana. Since demons pride themselves on these spells so much, it's a nice visual way of doing the same. The flashbacks being such good scenes helps with Aura too. There isn't much of a fight or a confrontation between these two, but going between the great Stark and Third action, and some of the best flashbacks in the first season, it really helps to make the Aura fight feel more like the sum of its parts, especially in the ending. We leave Frieren behind to follow a monster's dying thoughts. Aura gets killed because she doesn't consider an alternative, that she just assumed that Frieren had wasted her life, even pulls the sword ahead of time, likes to rub it in, and if we're judging a character on limited information, and again, given all this, then we
Hey, that's the anime community for you, and it's not. I don't care, by the way, so it is what it is.
Probably are. Then liking to rub salt into the wound is a big enough trait. The scene of her walking over with the sword dragging, the music, the vocal performance, and she's kind of breaking the fourth wall. Looking and smiling directly at the camera while going over to kill the protagonist.
I forgot about that one.
It's fantastic. I think this scene, as much as the others, is responsible for her breakout. This gloating moment before the shocked Pikachu when she realizes. But the gloating is directly at the viewer. She's looking into your soul there. She's killed by having a blind spot, something she doesn't even consider. It's not an outrageous villain undoing, and maybe the only one that works for a villain without much development like this. Aura is presented with one major trait, which is then her undoing. It's economical storytelling if your villain is mainly here to introduce concepts about the world rather than serve as a character themselves. Later demons don't have this burden and get to be a bit more interesting as people. Obviously, the overwhelming is one of the best sequences in the first season, and it still does a flashback for the final moment, because that's the focus of the scene. It puts Frieren in Aura's eyes. That's how we see her growth. That's how we see the reveal. But then the over-the-shoulder, out-of-focus shot as the command goes out, it's switching to Aura completely out of thought to letting focus as Frieren walks away. She's gone. She walked right out of the scene, and instead, we're watching the end of Aura's journey. It's a very well executed death scene in such a surprisingly brutal way of doing it. No wonder it's a meme. The music is gone for the execution. We just get the voiceover, bits of hair falling, and then a point of view shot. Kind of like the similar point of view shots we got to represent Himmel's passing after the meteor shower. It's a sequence that takes away the normal flourishes of the anime to make it even more brutal. It's a trick they use as early as the first episode, but it really makes this moment memorable. In the past, it's been used to highlight a powerful moment for Frieren, and this time, it's used to highlight a very brutal one. Aura is the one whose emotions we're dwelling on, her shock, her realization. It's her experience we're being left with here. Not with Frieren, she's already left. Maybe more than anything, this sequence is asking you to empathize with this monster. So the audience did, even though there really isn't all that much there to...
Yeah, the thing is, I never sympathized with her. I'm gonna be honest here, I never had like a moment of, oh, okay, yeah, I understand this is... But I am thinking a bit differently there. I seen her as a monster and that's all she is, basically. She may have her motivations, I understand the demons are basically just animals that hunt people. It is what it is, but nonetheless, I know she would off me, so, you know.
Emphasize with. Then the episode ends. It's one of the best closers to the first season. It's just a great sequence. Ultimately, Aura is maybe most interesting in her moments of death, in vulnerability, in showing more of a personality than her overconfidence allowed up until now. Aura's very limited appearances being this well handled, this compelling, this memorable. Of course people would latch on, especially with how the anime has handled the adaptation. But at the core, Aura is memorable because she begins the exploration of one of Frieren's more interesting themes. Aura is the source of the first big demon plotline, and it introduced this conversation about, can they change? What can a demon become? Aura isn't a very interesting demon for this conversation. The flashback one is, but Aura does lead to much more interesting monsters. I think we'll see less Aura in public consciousness when some of the other demons are animated. But for now, she's the poster child for one of the more interesting themes. How does a counterweight to Frieren's development clash against her? Can they change too? In Aura's case, no, probably not. She's static, even in the 80 years since she lost. Elves take ages to develop, but they can do so. Humans seem to develop every damn hour in comparison. Can demons? They're a foil to elves, and their ability to grow beyond their base instinct will be something that's explored in a lot more depth. But before we can really do that, we have to establish the baseline, what a standard demon does, how they work. And that's Aura. She's the failure to develop. She's the general demon. She's the bad example. None of the others would really work without Aura being established first. For us to see her being undone by hubris, so keeping her around in meme form, she's pretty much always relevant as a reminder of that, the panic in the final moments, when we actually see something beyond the basic villain. Hey, thanks for watching, I've been Comfortably Lilin. There's a sub button if you liked it, other videos, Snowboard Kids, that's a good game, check that out if you have the time. Alright.
Fair enough. Fair enough. This was a nice and quick analysis about Aura. It's quite on point, I'm gonna be honest here. It's... I like the guy. I simply like the guy. And for F's sake, I always forget to like and subscribe to like the channels I'm looking at. But irrelevant. Comfy... Oh wait, he only has 9.26k subs? No, come on. Like, okay, maybe it's his second video or something like that. Oof. You already clicked on that one at one point. This one too. Like, oof, come on, like. This dude deserves way more than he got. This dude deserves way more. This isn't a reflection of his content. Like, for F's sake. Not even at all. Like almost 1 million views. And you quote-unquote only get like 10k subs out of this. That's insane. That's honestly insane. He deserves more. I think I'm gonna do more of his stuff because this dude deserves... Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I think I already clicked on those. Oh, I remember I actually seen his thumbnails and wanted to watch it on a later date. Okay, yeah, fair enough. But as it is, Acolytes, good night.